It is Mindfully Uchumishi, the podcast, and welcome to another amazing edition. Today, we're recording, this particular one, we're recording it on World Mental Health Day. It's not going to come out until later, but it was a conversation we felt that we should have this time. And of course, when I'm saying we, you know that Ola is here. Hola! I have no idea.
Okay, I don't know. Every time I sit here and then you introduce me, I just feel like, okay, so I'm one of the G10 leaders here, so.
Oh my.
I'm very calm.
Okay, so we're doing this now. Can you properly introduce Ola?
Right. Who is Ola? Honestly, the answer to that is it keeps changing over time. But I think at the present moment, because I'm always evolving, I think I'm getting comfortable with that.
Okay.
My name is Ola Akinola Oluwaseun Olamipo Dawodu. That's just about 3 of the 20-something names that I have.
Lucky you.
Right, as the first grandchild of my family, I think they were just excited and allowed everybody that came for the naming to
give you a name. Wow.
To give me a name. A graduate of computer electronics and computer engineering, never practiced one day. I have no sadness or regrets about that. I'm a mental health coach, and I do communications. I believe that communication is the being, or what should I say, the basic thing that connects everybody on the planet. And if we can learn to communicate effectively and efficiently, most of the issues that we have
will be sorted.
Will not
be sorted.
Will disappear. Right, to a large extent.
Okay.
To a large extent, will disappear, because once we understand each other, and because in communication comes empathy, and in it comes kindness. And I believe that when we're able to communicate properly, not just with others but with ourselves also, because that's the key. If you learn to communicate with yourself effectively, then it will be easier to communicate with other people effectively. Mental health coach, and what I podcast too. I enjoy talking.
Bodola, that's
yes.
Bodola, that's the title.
Bodola, yeah.
Bodola.
Real talk with Bodola.
Real
yes.
talk. I can't even remember the Bodola. It is something to Bodola. All right, welcome again. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Everyone wondering why I'm being so formal with Ola today is because, of course, mental health questions, very serious business to both of us. And thankfully, the episode that went out today, that's today, the 10th of October 2023, was also done by Ola and I. And what we talked about was unmasking stigma. And we're talking about mental health illnesses, questions, and advocacy. So, what got you started on this journey?
I'll say that my earliest exposure to mental health issues was some 20-something years ago, when I used to teach, and then I lost one of my students. He passed away in the boarding house in the night or early hours of the morning. I still remember it was a Sunday morning, you know, and he was the closest. He was one of my closest, you know, because again, he was very, he was strong, but he was frail. Strong in terms of how he conducted himself. Everything that every other person did, he did. He didn't allow the fact that he had a serious issue
condition.
to hold him back. No. And one of the things that I learned from him, he would never, what's this called, when you don't
allow self-pity.
That's not even something that he did. When people do stuff and then you can't tell that they're the ones that did.
Okay. He never snitched.
He never snitched. Never snitched. Even if you were going to beat all of them, he never snitched. And I used to wonder, how can he be this tiny? He would rather roll with seniors, bigger boys than his mates, but he would never snitch. And I'm like, just tell who did it. You know, he would bear the punishment with them. I learned that from him, and it was very loving. He would rather give his provisions out. It always freaked me out. Like, you need this thing more than all of them combined. But he would give his provisions out. Sometimes he won't even eat his food, right? He would give it out, you know. And just had a loving heart. Very carefree. Maybe he knew that his life was going to be short. I don't know. Yeah. But he gave his life, he gave it meaning. He gave it meaning for everyone around him, you know. This is 20-something years. He died in 2005. This is almost 20 years. Yeah, almost 20 years. And I still remember him as though he was just yesterday, you know. And then he passed away in the night. And then by the time I woke up, I just started hearing the boys screaming, what happened? They tried to rush him into the hospital, but by the time I got to the hospital, he was BIT, right? Gosh, it was so, because I saw him the night before.
Yeah.
You know, it was live where he looked tired, you know, but of course people are tired sometimes, you know, but, you know, and then it was just very traumatic for me. For 5 days, I couldn't eat straight. I just didn't feel hungry. And I was losing weight, and I still had to go to classes because, again, nobody understands. Well, don't let me say nobody at that time. I would say that the understanding that should have come into place with people who were directly involved with that situation didn't happen, because I would have thought that in situations like that, you would give people directly involved a break, you know, to process, you know, what went down. It was a lot. I think about it sometimes. I'm like, how did you cope with that? You know, because if it happened to me now, I'm just thinking people that will have collected, you know, but I think I managed it effectively. I managed to the best of my, because I think that I also didn't want to, I tried as much as possible not to destroy the relationship that event could have, you know, destroyed in that process. You know, it took me, you know, I remember this. I was going through my diary at the time. Yesterday, I destroyed it. I had to destroy the diary yesterday. I don't think I want to keep remembering those things. And I saw where I'd, you know, entered those details of how I felt at that time yesterday. And there was nobody to talk to about it. My mom, of course, mothers always feel, you know, you know, all those things that, you know, but she didn't know to check with my mental health. Of course, she would do that, but there was no one I could talk to about what had just happened to me. You know, losing somebody that I cared for in that sense, you know, like that. And I think I carried that on for a very long time. One of his sweaters, I still have it. Very small thing like that, but I just could not part with who he was, you know, even the memories of him. At some point, I started become very upset with myself because I was forgetting him. I wasn't remembering him the way I wanted to. Every time, initially, I couldn't stop thinking about him, and then I would not remember sometimes him, and then I would remember him as he was when I see his mates, and now 30, you know. And it was a lot, and I just wanted to remember to call him my baby, because it was really small. It was really small for his age. It was 14, but it was really small for his age. And then that went on, and then I spoke with one of my friends, who I did not know had multiple episodes of suicide attempts. You know how it is. I just talk to people, and then you don't know what's going on in their past. But I think something happened to him. He lost one of his friends to suicide. So that made him he promised to himself. So he went public with what happened to him. You know? And he said it wasn't until he left Nigeria that he got help. You know, he moved out of Nigeria to Germany. That was and this is after university. So he lived with 3 suicide attempts in Nigeria, before moving outside Nigeria, and then before he could get help, and that was the tipping point for me. I knew that I had to, even though I was already used to talking to people about, how far, it was just more of an intuitive thing. It wasn't based on the knowledge that I had, that I have now on what could be the issue, so, and that started me on what exactly is it that could have caused him
to take that decision,
to
take their life.
Three attempts. Like, he's not from a poor home, so it has nothing to do with poverty, right? He's a smart human being. It's not like he was failing. So what exactly is it? So that started me on the journey of trying to find out. And because I always overthink, well, I'm much better now. Asking those questions inside my head. That's why I tell people, don't tell me, don't bother. Don't bother is just a trigger to worry more. So I started doing a lot of thinking, and then I would ask questions, and then I stumbled into a place where I don't want to use the word coincidentally, because
said that earlier today.
I stumbled is more okay for me to use, because that happened, and then I was in a place where I was able to begin to learn more about mental health issues, and about how 1 million people can be in a place, and there are 1 million issues that need to be dealt with, because each human being is a different character. Yes.
All right. So, how has that journey been for you?
Rewarding.
Okay.
Rewarding, because the change starts with me. That's what I say. I can't help anyone if I'm not helped myself. If I have not learned to help myself, I'm not. So, for a long time, I used to wonder why I was always swinging moods. Like, just wake up in the morning and then you're sweet. Who hurt you? Is I sleep?
I really hurt you. I know, right?
Right. And then it took me forever to realize that there are different personalities, and a personality type is one that swings like that. And while you cannot really change your personality, you can manage it to the very best, and even that people who are not that close to you or know you from the past may not know. Right. So yeah, it's been very rewarding for me. It's easier for me now to empathize. They say everybody should have empathy, but the truth is, most times you have to learn it. I don't think it comes naturally to everyone. I've had to learn how to be empathetic in some situations. Some come naturally, especially in places where I have felt the pain. But there are a lot of pains that you won't go through, that you have to just learn to put yourself in those people's shoes. It's like, it's been very, 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 before I can say it's been helpful for others through me, it's been really helpful to me, knowing that my mental health is, even as far as I'm concerned, sometimes even more important than my physical health. So I've tried to keep my space, clean, calm. It's hard work. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm okay. And sometimes I just have all manners of thoughts, bombarding me that most of them I don't like. For example, one of the things that I say now is I don't want anybody to talk negative around me. It's not because you can't. It's just because I don't want it. Because by the time you are gone,
I'm going to
I'm still
thinking about it.
It's a lot. I don't want to have to deal with every time doing house cleaning in my head when I should be, putting my time to some other productive things. So it's been a really rewarding.
So, I'm thinking now that, okay, if you said this around a guy or even a girl, and I'm sensitive enough not to keep my my immediate environment clean and all that. Don't you get pushbacks like, aren't you a guy?
I really don't care. If you know me, you know the things that, again, so for you to say that, for me to have that kind of conversation with you, where I'm telling you, it will mean that you mean a lot to me.
Okay.
Because rather than me say that to you, I'll walk away.
Ah.
Yeah, I will only have that kind of conversation with people I care for, so that it doesn't become something you consistently do in my space. If I don't care for you, I'll just walk away and I'll avoid you being in my space. Life is very easy. As far as I'm concerned.
So I'm sure you're wondering why I chose for us to have this conversation. Because I remember the day I saw that. First, it was an Instagram post. Then I saw it on Facebook when you went through, because you were off. You were off social media for a bit.
While, yes.
For a bit, and then I'm like, oh, and it was just right in the middle of me struggling to accept that I was now a coach or a mental health advocate.
Right.
And remember the message I sent to you? I said, welcome. That's all I said. And the reason was because in my head, I didn't know if we were doing this mental health advocacy right.
Right.
I didn't know if this was, because again, 2020 was pivotal. And I know when I say 2020, people will say it's because of the lockdown and all of that. No. But August 27th, 2020 was extremely pivotal in my life. It was the last attempt that I had. And this particular one, before I wouldn't write anybody, I'll just attempt and disappear, or I'll just, I did. Ideation was fun to me. Like, oh, how beautiful if you went this way. Like, oh, or maybe I should just be sleeping, or maybe I should, it was,
right.
Oh, ideation was a fun place for me to be, to suicidal ideation was such a fun, and I'm very careful now because I don't know who is going to listen, but it was extremely fun to me. It was a fun place to be. It was a place where I could talk with myself. It was a place where I could relate with myself. Nobody could understand it.
Right. So
I can't even remember what triggered August 27, 2020. I had a couple of, I was working, yes, and all of that, but then I've always worked hard. I've always had crazy shit and all that. But this morning, I was just done. I was just done. I wrote a note on my, I could even read it out. I wrote a note on my phone and I sent it to my friends and my husband. And what I said was, I really do not know how much time I have left. Sometimes I literally feel like I'm running out of time and won't be able to do anything about it. I wish I could live all my dreams for a better Africa, for a better Nigeria. I wish I could live my dream of a changed marital institution narrative, which I've enjoyed. I use the past tense. I really wish I could preach it, carry my megaphone and help people see that it's not that deep. We can love in peace and harmony, and if we truly just let ourselves feel, the world will never be totally rid of bad people. The world will constantly leave us with things to read about in pain, but we can do better. Look past the person causing the pain to the reason. When I've gone, when I've done the bit God and the universe will allow me to do in my small world corner, I hope you remember me for the love I tried hard to share and give. I hope you don't color code who Tumishi was or is to you. Help my children understand that the kind of mother they had, and that I would want for them to be the best they could ever be while loving God and loving the health of humanity. I hope you remember me for my quirks, the not so conventional jokes and insights. I really hope you remember me for constantly fighting for the true meaning of love. Do not cry. I'm grateful I met you. I'm grateful for you all. Yes, you thought me. I'm pain and goodness. Let the light shine. At my cremation, sing a song of joy. At the scattering of the ash, sing a song of freedom. I was done. I was done. So I said goodbye to everything. Goodbye. I was like, hey, okay. But the thing that helped me that day, I said it several times, was the fact that I loved routine. That's the only way I could process things. If my routine was out of whack.
All right.
So that day, I didn't have work.
Wow.
That day was my off day. My training of days working out. So I didn't stand up. I wrote it, sent it out. I stood up, threw myself at the door, and I now held myself to the bed. And thankfully, my husband was awake. He ran to the room and just held me, and he started praying and all that. And I said to myself, how many people, and of course my friends came around, my big sister didn't really came around.
Right.
From Lekki. She came around, she bought me pizza. Yeah. She called me, was like, babe, I was like, I said, pizza, extra cheese, extra chili. I said, one coming right out, you know. And at that moment, I told myself, I might have not had this kind of support growing up.
Right.
I have it now.
Right.
I'm going to give it. And again, you don't believe in coincidence, but I don't know whether it's coincidental. And then I started Googling, you know, I told myself, yes, nobody should tell me you can still do it. I think I'm too old to go back to school to study psychology. I don't even, and when I actually even did, you know, take, I wrote to school, they said I needed maths. You mean no? So let me take my certificates. Oh no, let's do certificates. Let's do certificates. And then I found CTA. And CTA was not just CTA was just not a coaching academy. What ticked me off was the set transformational.
Right.
And oh man, have I met amazing souls. Franda, of course, you've heard me talk about her. Right. I met Dimitri, I met Robin. And this, we've never met face to face. We've never met one on one. But we've been able to build a community. And I know for a fact, especially for anyone who is living actively with a mental health question, that once community is out, isolation fits it. It's as simple as that.
That's not what you want.
It's not what you want. It's not what you want. And the other flip is you also don't want to be out there all the time.
Right.
Because any argument, any social media, it ticks you off. And the first thing you think about, yes, it charges you. You're very excited. Well, I'm speaking for myself. You're very excited, you know. And then when all the excitement is gone,
that draining can be terrible. Just go down like a punctured tire.
And then you begin to, for me, the go-to was to ideate. Like, okay, so what is going to save me from this the next time? But I have always been one who wanted to, people that short-sighted wanted to serve and help. I didn't want anyone to go through the pain, the heaviness, and everything I was in here. And even if my time on earth was going to be cut short, every single person who met me must leave. It was something I said to myself, must leave feeling okay. Too much of a thing to put on myself, yeah. But in my journey as a pseudo psychologist and you know, and now as a transformational coach, I've, like you said, found myself. Of course, I'm still in therapy. Oh, well, not in active therapy anymore, but, there was an intense active period, and we went through the old work, CBT, that's cognitive behavioral, and psychotherapy. And that has been able to, that's helped me to channel those dark thoughts. And I'm grateful for words. I'm grateful for this gift of words, because I literally say words. And I remember Kenneth, one of my psychiatrists, saying to me, work with that. I remember Danny, also one of my psychiatric friends, saying, work with that. And I remember when she was saying, okay, we're going to give you this medication and all that. I'm afraid, though, one of the side effects was memory loss. Or you lose. She was like, I said, no, I'm not losing my words. It's not going to happen. I said, no, I can't lose my words. And it was right after that started, I started taking that particular medication, that I was able to articulate living mindfully, a journey to being. So, the question of us being able to articulate what it means to have a mentally healthy space in the face of, and I'm using this very fluidly, in the face of culture, tradition, limiting beliefs, paradigms, and all that. I think that's one of the questions that I'm hoping to answer as an advocate.
That's a deep one. Funny thing is that this thought has been going on in my mind for a while. What exactly is how exactly are we able to handle and tackle the issue of mental health? Not just as coaches, but even as psychiatrists, psychologists. Because one of the things that I came to realize is that knowledge is always growing, right?
And evolving.
Yeah. So, one of the things that realization I came to is that no one should allow themselves to be judged of what they know and what they are yet to know. Because, I look back and I was telling someone recently, I know of a psychiatrist who was never an ideal person to talk about mental health because of how his living was in terms of how he related with people around him. Because I never would have thought that the psychiatrist should be the person who should understand the most about the mental health, about the human psyche. And so if all I saw was that, I never would have been in the space of saying, mental health is really important. Let's try to help each other. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So if you bring your knowledge of what mental health is, to the table, and that person sits down with you on the table, you would get a lot of more head knowledge
than heart knowledge.
And
head and heart work. Head and heart work is what I found that works.
Yes.
Yes. And yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my spirit brothers, Dimitri, and we were talking about whether African Americans or blacks generally, colored people. I really do not like the term blacks or colored people, but for the sake of conversation,
we're black.
Are you black? I'm not.
Okay, you're chocolate.
All right. So and then he said he gave an analogy, and it was around parenting. He's still very young. He doesn't have children yet, but it was around parenting. But then he's a coach, so I understood where he was coming from. So Dimitri said that, for example, a state beating of children is an example that culturally those that black people will understand why would have not understand have an explanation for why they bit children,
Right.
and for them, it was, you know, building some form of resilience in their children before they go face what's going on in the society.
Right.
I am very careful right now because you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I said, oh, that might be true. It might just, for someone, for a parent who lives through slave trade in the Black American community, now African American,
Right.
that probably was why they beat the children so much. We've seen all the movies where we see black fathers mistreating, and it's true. It's because they're trying to teach their children some form of resilience. But what Dimitri and I got to yesterday was it should have evolved. People should. We don't have that kind of racism or you know, color questions anymore. But what kind the other questions that we have now, parents should be evolving to equip and give their children tool rather than, you know, inadvertently telling the child that until you're beating, until your esteem has been washed down, blah 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 blah. But that's not what. But you get what I'm trying to say.
When you ask those questions, it make me think.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
That's just the
fine.
broadcasting.
I like
the
it. I
broadcasting
like
meaning.
it. So, again, you know, when I pause like that, it's because I can't fully understand that context because I'm not an American or Black American.
Neither am I.
Yeah, but in the Nigerian so if I can use the Nigerian context of why a parent that beats with an intention to raise a resilient child. Must be extremely self-aware, and I don't think they are.
You went there.
I'm sorry.
But let's not even go parenting, because I would rather, seriously, yeah, in as much as I have an almost 16-year-old and an almost 13-year-old, I'd rather,
let's stay in
yeah, let's have a conversation, because when these conversations go on, I have a darling friend, Lord Amnolad, who whenever is young too, he's not married, and whenever he talks about parenting, he gets this backlash of be a parent first, get to be, and there are a lot of questions, like if you have not told yourself to be intentional before you start having those kids,
right.
Children, because I was a child, and I knew how difficult I was after some point. I knew how I drove my mother to, because I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't, because I had shut down. Yeah, I knew. So if you're not ready to, if you don't tell yourself constantly that I will not do this, because that thing would happen. It will happen. Your internal dialogue is what will remind you that, because I bit my son once.
Don't you realize that? Don't you think that when people say, I won't do this, I won't do this, I won't do this, they end up doing it?
Yeah.
So I think we should, again, this is where we should begin to replace with what you won't do, what will you do.
Yeah, right. Because I remember, I don't beat my children, and I have no. In fact, my son is so hilarious. He knows that when he's done something that's worthy of, he's just gonna bring the bills. This one. I know that you need to me. And then we'll have a conversation. But the fact that he's gotten to the point that he knew or he knows that this one says something. But before we got to that point, he was 5, and I've told the story 1,000,001 times. I beat him. Oh Jehovah! Even Nigeria Social Services would have
collected the boy from
me. Oh Lord! I mean, what was happening? He was trying to sort an arithmetic or mathematics, and I didn't know math. 1+1.
That's fine.
That's fine, but quantitative aptitude? Oh no, I can't do it. And I beat him so much.
Because he wasn't getting it.
Because he wasn't getting it.
And you didn't know how to put him through.
Yes.
Your mom was frustrated.
Wait, let me tell the story, Joe. Let me tell the story, Joe. And then, after about 30 minutes, I was in the room, I was reading. And then he comes to me. Mommy, I'm like, yeah? He was about 5, 6. I said, what's it? And he goes, your body is beating you, Abby. I said, yeah. I was still...
After you finished beating him.
Yeah. And then he's like, and my body is beating me too. I said, yeah. But you know that you have not taught me anything.
Wow. That's a light bulb moment.
And I'm like,
oh my God.
we could have just talked.
Oh wow. How old?
He was
Again?
5. He was 5. That was the last I touched my son. Like, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay.
That's like saying, Mommy, I'm not gonna tell you, but you're stupid. That's what that's what he literally said. But
And then
so
after I had left, I didn't understand why I did what I did until about 3-4 years later.
Right.
When I was, of course, coming into my own and around the diagnosis and all.
Right.
And I knew that the reason, just like you said, was I was frustrated.
Right.
I couldn't help him.
Right.
I'm your mother. Why can't and I projected my pain
Yes.
on this boy.
Right.
Nobody will agree. Well, a lot of people will not agree with what I'm going to say next.
Right.
I think beating a child is lazy parenting.
It is lazy parenting. As far as I'm concerned.
It is lazy parenting.
It is. Again, so while it might be needed, while it might be needed, have you tried every other means to reach the child? That's what it is. So and I know this because I have, again, I think I mentioned my friends Deshala and Bayomi.
Yeah,
I've known them for like forever. Bayomi was in same university as I was.
Really?
Yeah, we went to.
I didn't know that you guys were that. It was that close.
No, I've known.
But I knew you were close. But I didn't know that.
The funny thing is that his father was the chairman at my parents' wedding.
Oh.
And I didn't even know until we got to school.
Wow.
Right. I didn't know until we met in the university.
That's some history.
Right. And I've known them. I literally watched them birth their 2 children.
Yeah.
And I've never seen them use anything other than words to check. Not abusive words.
Words. I understand what you to check.
The child's behavior.
Yeah.
So when we talk about how your 5-year-old boy did that, my mind went to the youngest. That is exactly what he will do. He would. So one day, let me give you an example. I got to their place, and he didn't even greet me. This is somebody who will give me a hug. He didn't greet me. This boy is in his elements. 2 hours later, he came to me, gave me a hug. How are you, Uncle Shaw? It was a light bulb moment for me. It taught me that people are going through stuff. It doesn't matter whether they are short people, tall people.
So I absolutely. So we'll have to, because we have just deviated from mental health. But I absolutely, personally, do not like when people say those kids. Kids. No, I don't like it. Why? I'll explain to you. You were a kid.
People forget. We forget.
You didn't just. You were just a boom. Da, no, you're not Adam. We only had one.
We forget.
We only had one Adam and one Eve.
We forget. I think that's what it is.
You also grew.
Made your mistakes.
What I said to myself, even before I got married or met my husband or met anybody, blah, blah, blah. What I said to myself, if I had children, what would caution me will be, I would not talk to my children the way
Right.
I wished I wasn't talked to
Right.
or talked with.
Right.
Guess what? I forgot.
Of course. You forget.
Guess who reminded me? My mother.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
She was the one who said, I did something she would have done exactly. You know, those. If I had done that,
Memory comes back when they are in their grandmother.
you know, if I had done that, and she didn't do it in a way of, she just told my daughter to go, and then she called me and said, "Oluwatomise." I said, "Ma tomo mo she toy. Don't make my mistakes. Don't make my mistakes. Be friends with your children." Unfortunately, about 2 years after she said that, she passed. But that moment
Stayed with you.
stayed with me. The way she didn't say it in this Yoruba, she said it in a dialect. She said it with sync. Like, she said it with Ijebu dialect. Like, no, don't do it. So parenting is another. That's why I said
That's
I don't want to
Yes,
that
we
because
we
there's
started on that mental health.
on the mental, of course, because of what would birth a child who would be mentally resilient would definitely be their origin, where they're coming from, their experiences, and all of that. If your father or your mother is talking you down, oh no.
I actually think that one of the things that builds resilience are words.
Oh, definitely.
Not words that put people down, but the extent of your vocabulary would help to define how resilient you would be.
You'd be. I heard some I don't remember his name now. Some comedian, he's late now in America, and who was saying that he believes that the reason we've become very sensitive is because we don't use harsh words anymore and all that. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Yes and no. And know the harsh words. Don't use it on someone in anger. Help them understand.
Right.
Don't tell your child not to fear. Don't tell your child not to do this.
Right.
But help them understand
Right.
that if you do this,
Right. This is the
consequence.
Yes.
If you is what exam, whether even when you are not afraid of the exam that you wanted to go and do, exam fever will turn you off because you hear it. I'm having exam fever. I'm having and that's anxiety.
What can you do? Should be what you should tell.
Do you understand? So why don't you say it's okay for you to feel anxious that but trust in your ability, trust in what you have studied.
Yes, that's it. Get in there, teach them a few tips to get them settled. So it's how much again, experiences are good.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things that I see when it has to do with human beings is there's some things you don't have to learn by yourself. Watch people, listen to people who've gone through that.
Yeah.
But there's some things that you must go through by yourself.
You must go through. So the question is, will your child or your friend or whatever trust that you will be there for them if they go through,
which is the key.
Again, it's not a conversation that we can have right now. So what are you going to say? Of course, like I said, we're recording this on mental health, World Mental Health Day. Of course, it's not going to be released on World Mental Health Day, but it's a conversation we can have at any time. So what are you going to say?
Okay, so one of the thoughts that I've been thinking, I mentioned to you, is we think a lot about empathy as something that we show towards the other person. There's something called self-empathy. And I think that if not everyone, most of us should learn how to show our self-empathy, because I believe that that's where kindness begins.
From. All right, so my final words will be: love yourself, love your neighbor, love your country. Above all, love God. He is the essence of your being. Mindfully with Tumishe will return next Tuesday. I'm Oluwatomisola Dakbukuku. Check us out, blackimages.com. Black Images BHM Coaching, of course, if you need any help. And of course, Wellness Anonymous, which I will talk about very soon, is a CSR kind of thing from Black Images, where you can just come divest. If you're American, divest. If you're British, divest. Enjoy. Up until next time, please be kind to yourself. Thank you, Ola, for always.
Thank you for having me.